Welcome PAC students to the subject Business Management and Behavioral Studies. In this video we shall discuss a subtopic of management concepts called the business environment. Management concepts constitute 25% of ICAP syllabus grid. In this video we shall cover the following topics of the business environment. Number 1. The nature of environmental influences. And Number 2. Political and legal factors affecting business. In the nature of environmental influences we shall discuss two factors. Firstly, the environment of an organization. And then, the consequences of environmental change. Let's start with the environment of an organization. The environment of an organization is anything outside an organization that affects what it does, or how it acts. There are many influences on an organization that come from pressures and changes in its environment. One method of analyzing environmental factors influencing the organization is called pest analysis. In a pest analysis, we consider the political and legal factors, economic factors, social, cultural and demographic influence, and technological factors. In the modern business world, environmental factors and legal factors are also considered by organizations, which transform the pest analysis into a pestive analysis. A second method of analyzing the environment within which a firm operates is Michael Porter's 5 forces model. This topic will be covered in detail in a separate video. Now, let's move to the consequences of environmental change. Environmental factors can have a significant effect on a business organization and can affect its activities and profitability. Changes in the environment might affect the planning and other decision-making of a business organization. Management should monitor developments in the business environment and need to consider how the organization should respond to changes and developments. This type of analysis is sometimes called an environmental scan. When making an analysis of the business environment for an organization, the initial task is to identify factors in the environment that create threats or opportunities. Threats are factors in the environment that might prevent the organization from achieving its business objectives, and opportunities are developments that provides opportunities for the organization to achieve its objectives more successfully. Organizations should consider measures for reducing or removing significant threats. Now let's discuss our second topic, political and legal factors, in which we shall discuss the following 8 factors. 1. The scope of political and legal influence on business. 2. Sources of legal authority. 3. Employment law. 4. Health and safety law. 5. Data protection law. 6. Competition law. 7. Consumer protections. And 8. Responding to political and legal developments. Firstly, we shall start with the scope of political and legal influence on business. Political and legal factors that might affect business include 1. Nationalization of industry and privatization. 2. Transport and infrastructure. 3. Education. 4. Environmental policy. And 5. Taxation and subsidies. Now, we will move forward to sources of legal authority. The sources of legal authority vary between countries, but usually include the following. The first source is supranational bodies, which is a body that has responsibility or oversight of more than one country. For example, in accounting, the International Accounting Standards Board is able to impose standard rules for financial reporting on companies in every country. Other examples are the European Union, the World Bank, and the United Nations. The second source is national government, and the third source is the regional or local government. The local government may exercise powers delegated to it by the national government or if it has some independence from the national government. Now, let's proceed towards employment law. The purpose of employment law is mainly to provide protection to employees against unfair treatment or exploitation by employers. Business organizations, as employers, need to be aware of the employment law in each country in which they operate, and understand the consequences of breaking the law or failing to comply with regulations. Following are some aspects of employment law. 1. Minimum wage. 2. Working conditions. 3. Unfair dismissal. 4. Redundancy. And 5. Discrimination. Our fourth area to discuss is health and safety law. Health and safety law provides rules and regulations about minimum health and safety requirements that employers must provide in their place of business and for their employees. The legal consequences of failure to comply with the regulations could be serious for the company, the directors, managers or employees responsible. The next area to discuss is data protection law. Data protection legislation is designed to protect personal data of the individual against others that are collecting, holding and using information about them without their permission, or if personal data is held with permission of individual, then data protection legislation will ensure that data held by others is justified and secure. Personal data means any data about a living private individual, where the individual can be identified from the data. Note that it might be considered illegal that any organization should be able to gather and hold personal data about individuals without a justifiable reason, and make use of that personal data without the individual's permission. Someone holding and using personal data about individuals should also be under a legal obligation to make sure that the personal data is accurate, and ensure the security of the data. Now let's look at principles of data protection and security. There are 7 principles of data protection and security, which include: 1. Personal data must be obtained and processed fairly and lawfully. 2. Personal data should be obtained only for one or more specified reasons. 3. Personal data gathered and stored about individuals should be accurate, relevant and not excessive. 4. Data should not be held for longer than is necessary for its purpose. 5. Personal data should be processed in accordance with certain specific rights of individuals. 6. Personal data that is held about individuals should be kept secure. And 7. Personal data cross-border transfer guidelines. Our sixth area to discuss is competition law. Some countries have laws to encourage fair competition in markets and avoid anti-competitive practices. For example, laws relating to monopolies, anti-collusion regulations, and price controls. Last law to discuss is consumer protection. Most countries have legislation in place that aims to protect consumers of goods and services. These measures include contract law and sale of goods legislation. Lastly, we will look at how to respond to the political and legal factors discussed before. Large companies often use lobby groups to represent their interests by communicating with politicians and government officials. In some countries, companies use specialist firms to represent their interests by speaking to politicians and government officials. That was everything about the nature of environmental influences, political and legal factors affecting business, and how to respond to political and legal factors. Thank you for watching and keep in touch for our next video.